Hey guys, this is Locke. So today I'm going to do a beginner tutorial. This tutorial assumes that today is the first day you're starting this game. I'm going to guide you through the rerolling process, what I think you should be rerolling for, and then I'm going to go through your first few days on here, leading up to your first few months on the game, and what you should be planning to achieve by then, what you should be having, what your account should look like, what you should be doing with your medals, because I think the medals part is the most confusing, and I'll be spending quite a bit of time there. But let's get right into it. So first of all, if you're starting today, I would highly recommend you reroll. Uh, there is a 10-step banner that features both shards of Tidus and Yuna. I no longer have it because I already pulled on it, but that's what I would suggest that you pull for, and by the end of that, I'm really hoping that you pulled for Yuna. If you did not pull for Yuna, like if you did not get Yuna in that pull, I would recommend you reroll and redo that until you get Yuna within that 10 step. Optionally, depending on how hardcore you are at rerolling, you can also get Bahamut. Bahamut is a very good Esper and a very powerful vision card as well. But it's going to be pretty hard to get him because the drop rate for him is quite low. It's actually half the drop rate. Well, this is not even loading right now. It's half the drop rate of other vision cards. Usually the drop rate is 0.8, but for Bahamut it's 0.4 because he's a double cost uh, vision card. You probably don't know what that means being a new player, so forget about that, but just know that it's very hard to get him. So you might have to reroll quite a few tries to get him. Um, but you don't have to get him. He is a permanent addition to the game. You can probably get him at some point later on in the game. Um, but if you are a hardcore reroller and you want to get the best possible starting, uh, you know, starting account, make sure you can get him say within the first 5 steps. So you spend 9k on his banner and try to get him, and also make sure you get Yuna on the 10-step banner that you pull. So I'm gonna assume that that's how you start. You log in and you pull on those two banners. The first thing you would do after you pull on those banners is you would play the story mode. You would play it enough that you are able to unlock two very important things. The first thing you need to unlock is the guild. You have to join an active guild, and you make sure you join a guild that sends gifts every day and between all the players, and participate in guild wars and donate to your guild statue. The reason that you're doing this is because the medals that you get from doing it become very important for a starting player. The second thing that you will be doing is you will also be adding a lot of friends. Add as many friends as you can, fill up that limit, and make sure these friends send gifts every day, and you send your gifts every day as well, because again, you will need these friend medals because that is a very important part of the game now, since the addition of these medals. Sorry, not the addition of the medals, since the addition of the shards that you can get from these medals. So once you've done that, you would go and let's go take a look at the Mog Shop. The Mog Shop is where you will be able to trade the medals that you get from the guild and the friend into useful things. To access the Mog Shop, you click on this arrow button, and then you click on the button that says Mog Shop. So before we get into that, I'm actually going to talk about the first anniversary medals here for a second. You got 100 of these when you logged in today, and if you pulled on the Bahamut banner, you also got maybe like 50 more or something more depending on how much you pulled. Assuming that you're going for Tidus, Yuna, and Bahamut, I would highly recommend that you spend these first anniversary medals on the Bahamut vision card shards. Again, that is if you're going for it. The reason I recommend that is because this particular vision card shards cost twice as much as the regular ones. So if you buy one of these medals, if you trade one of these medals, it's like you're trading two of either Tidus or Yuna. So if you're using your 100 first anniversary medals, make sure you get the Bahamut vision card with it instead of Yuna or Tidus. But if you decide you're skipping Bahamut, then don't worry about it. It's just in case you're getting all three that I would recommend you get Bahamut. I did not get Bahamut, so I'm probably not going to be spending it on the vision card charts. I mean, I might anyway because Um, like I have a chance to pull him later, so I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But the reason I haven't spent any of the medals on him yet is because I did not pull him, because it's very hard to pull him. Anyway, moving on. So the first thing that you would look at is, when you look at all these medals, you can trade a certain amount of medals for different units, and you can also get their shards with these medals as well. So I'm going to be going through these shops, and I'm going to tell you what I think as a new player you should be getting and what you should be focusing on. So when we get to the medals, I'm going to start with the guild medals because that's the easiest one to explain. With these guild medals, you want to get Kiza. She is not the most powerful unit, but her TMR is the most powerful TMR in the game. A TMR is an item that you get when you have maxed out a unit to level 99, and Kiza's is by far the best one out of all of the units in the game right now. You'll be using her TMR in many places. You'll be using it in raids, in a lot of PvE and PvP scenarios, in arenas, guild wars, you name it. So before she was available in the shop, a lot of people actually recommended that whenever you're rerolling, make sure you get her. I don't think you need to do that anymore because you can just buy her with medals. Assuming that you find a pretty good guild, uh, you know, hopefully a guild that at least wins half the guild wars, you should be able to get quite a few medals a day. I mean, if you were getting 500 medals a day, that would be fantastic. But as a new player, I don't think you'll be getting as much. Um, but anyway, make sure you first buy out the unit. Uh, using this. If you haven't pulled her by some, if you pulled her by some random chance, you don't need to get this. But if you already pulled her and you get this anyway, this will change into 40 shards. So if you have a lot of guild medals sitting around because you didn't use them for some reason, you can, and you haven't maxed out Kiza yet, you can both buy the shards and buy this for an extra 40 medals. So with your guild medals, that's your first priority to get Kiza. Let's move on to the friend medals. With the friend medals, Ildira is what you should be focusing on. She is a fantastic healer and a fantastic damage dealer. Um, there is a lot of content that you can do with her just because of all the AoE skills that she provides. She also has some interesting uses from her limit burst. A limit burst is a special move that is unique to each unit, and Ildira's limit burst almost provides an extra turn to many of your units, and you can set that up to work even in an auto battle scenario. But I mean, we can talk about that later, probably in a different video. My point is that Ildira is great, and on top of that, farming is what, as a new player, farming for better equipment, for better gear, for better, you name it, whatever. That's what you'll be spending a lot of your time on. And the most effective farmers are farmers that use a lot of AoE skills, and that's Ildira. She also has access to two different types of skills. She has water skills and holy skills. Well, holy meaning light skills. So even if enemies are resistant to water, at least she'll be able to damage them through the light skills. So I definitely recommend that you use all your friend medals on Ildira to max her out as soon as you can. Um, yeah, that's what I recommend. So again, guild medals for Kiza, friend medals for Ildira. Now we will move on to the arena medals. And here, I'm actually going to go with an MR card instead of the UR. So MR is a tier lower than the UR. The UR is the best tier, the ultra rare tier. But this card, the Vow of Love, is most likely the best bang for your buck right now. This card gives a +5 value to hate, and hate is a characteristic in auto battles where enemies are drawn towards the unit that has hate. So this Vow of Love card is very powerful, especially as you're starting out, you don't have like a very good built-out tank, and the units that you do have, maybe you've really focused on Yuna, and she's the most powerful unit you have, but she keeps getting killed. So even if you give the Vow of Love card to a low-level unit that's gonna die in say 2 hits, at least it'll take 2 hits off of Yuna, and she can survive that much longer. So I would very highly recommend you build out the Vow of Love card, and the effects on the Vow of Love card, besides the hate, it also gives you 30% attack to the entire team. So that's a pretty good statistic. Only if you are building out a full magic team is that kind of useless, but most of the time you will at least have some physical attackers on your team as well. So I would highly recommend that's what you focus on with your arena medals. So to summarize, with your guild medals, you should be getting Kisa. With your friend medals, you should be getting Ildira. With your arena medals, you should be getting Vow of Love. So at this point, we have heard that we should be getting a select unit ticket where you can select one of the units in the game, and the game will summon that unit for you and get 600 shards of that unit as well. The 600 shards are split into 6 100 ticket shards. We haven't received this yet, but the game has confirmed, Yumi, the owners of the game, has confirmed that they're looking into the issue and we should be getting it. So I'm under the assumption that we will get that to everybody, especially new players. And this is what I think you should be doing with that. So I would recommend, well, there are a few ways you can go about this. If you're going for a value play, whereas you want to get the best bang for your buck in terms of the Vizier you're spending, I would get Gilgamesh, because his shards usually cost twice as much as the regular unit shards. Or I would get Shadowstern, the Knight of Ruinstern, because again, his shards also cost twice as much as a regular unit. Of these two, I think Gilgamesh is the more powerful one, so that's who I would focus on. But if you are not looking at it in terms of the Vizier you're trying to save, but just the best overall unit for the game that you could think of with the account you have, I would highly recommend Nivlu. Because Nivlu has a lot of supporting abilities that she just becomes such a powerful unit for your account. She has access to Quicken, which lets a unit take a second turn right away. She has Haste, which helps your unit to act a lot faster. And she has Barrier Breaks, and she removes buffs from your opponents, which can be very useful in both a PvP and a PvE scenario. So I would very highly recommend Nivlu is the unit that you should be using your select ticket on. But if for some reason you're already happy to pull Nivlu, or you just don't like Nivlu, another unit I can recommend is Sakura. Sakura has a very special skill in the game where, first of all, she does a lot of damage, and if you're following my guide, you already have Yuna. Both Yuna and Sakura are light units that will chain their attacks together, and they will both buff each other with their masteries, because being both of them are light units. Secondly, Sakura has a very special effect in the game right now where she can remove a skill called Immortal Spirit. It's getting a bit too technical and I don't want to go into it too much, but basically she provides something unique. So that's why I would recommend both Nivlu and Sakura as units that I think you should go for. Of these, I still think Nivlu is the one that you should be going for. But a third option is you should go with your favorite character. A lot of these units are good. There isn't really any bad units in the game. And if you like a unit whose design stands out to you, you should go with that unit. Like, a lot of people like the design of Howlett, and he's a pretty good unit as well. I don't have anything bad to say about him. He's a powerful unit. So whichever unit you think is good, you should go for. If you like, my favorite unit actually is Nivlu, so I would go for Nivlu if I was you. Not only because she's powerful, but I just like her design. But that's my recommendation. Those are the two units that I think are very useful: Nivlu and Sakura, or Gilgamesh or Ruinstern if you want to go for the value play, or just your favorite unit, because all the units are very good. Now, I'll get to the 600 shards. And with that, I'm going to go to the formation screen for a second. So this is kind of how your account should look like if you're following my guide. Now, I didn't get Bahamut, so I'm just using a different vision card here. So you might have Bahamut here, if you don't, I mean, if you didn't pull for Bahamut, you won't have this. So actually, I'm going to remove it because I don't have it, and maybe you don't as well. So this is how your account looks like. And the reason that I personally don't think you should spend all 600 shards on Kiza. So let me explain a little bit how this works. When you get a unit, I'm going to start with a unit that I don't have maxed out, like Howlet. So when you pull a unit, you will need to get their shards. You will need 600 of these shards to max a unit out. In addition to the shards, you will also need spears, and you would need other materials. So if you get 600 shards of a unit, you can bring that unit up to a level 99, assuming you have the other items that go along with it. And once you do that, you can get this item, the TMR. So with Kiza, this is a very powerful item that she has, and I've seen people say that the first thing you should do is you should get 600 shards of Kiza as soon as possible so that you can unlock this item and your account will be so much better. I personally don't agree with that, assuming that you are a brand new player, you're starting today or like a week ago. I would not recommend you do that. The reason I don't recommend you do that is because, well, let's take a look at your account. Most of the time, as a new player, you'll be farming, and as a farmer, you will probably be using Ildira. Ildira doesn't benefit as much from Kiza's TMR as some of the physical attacking units, like Titus or Nivlu will benefit from it a lot, but Ildira will not. So, um, like if I was you, I would spend the 600 shards on Nivlu, to be honest, because for me she's just a fantastic unit. But if you really want your unit to be power leveled up, I would even consider spending it like maybe 200 on Eldira to get her up to a limit break 3, which gives her access to all her skills. So if you are really if you're really adamant about spending them on Kiza, I would recommend that you spend only 200 of the 600 shards on Kiza, because at 240 shards, you can unlock all her skills, and she will have some other value besides only being used for a TMR. So she can use her skills like Steelheart and uh, she has some other useful skills. I don't use her too much, but she has some other useful skills like I think Revive and Chakra, but she doesn't outright do a lot of damage. So for your account, like yeah, she has a very powerful item that you will be using for a long time, but you're already getting quite a bit of her shards from the guild shop. You're getting up to 10 shards a day. You're getting 2 shards from the hard quest. So I don't know. I mean, say in like 2 months, you'll probably have her. Whereas with Nivlu, for example, you're only getting 2 shards a day. Like you can't buy 10 of her shards from the Mog medals. So to me, that's what I would do. Uh, and also the other thing is, in addition to 600 shards, you also need to get vision spheres, and those are usually the limiting factor for newer players. So I'll go to Howlet again as an example. So you will need 29 of these vision spheres to fully max a unit to level 99. So if with this roster, you have 5 units that you want to get to level 99. So you to make it easier, instead of 29, I'm going to say 30. So you will need 150 vision spheres to get all of these up. And Kiza is not going to be the one that you want to focus on, because although she has a good TMR, she doesn't do as much damage. So you would ideally want to level up one of the other damage dealing units. Because of the limited time events, I would definitely recommend you get Titus and Yuna up to level 99, because their shards are only available now and you don't want to miss out on that. So once you level them up, then I would focus on Ildira. So the 4th unit is what I would focus on Kiza. So by that time, you would already need at least 90 vision spheres. So it'll be a while before you can get Kiza up there anyway. So that's the reason why I don't recommend you spend 600 shards on her right now. Um, because, like, if you do that, yeah, you'll have a powerful item, but like your account itself is not that good, in my opinion. So that's why I would hesitate on using it on Kiza. But for example, Nivlu or even Sakura or Gilgamesh, Rinstern, those are all like very great units as well. And especially Gilgamesh and Rinstern, again for that value play, their shards cost twice as much as other shards. So if you use it on them, you are saving a lot of Visior on not buying their shards otherwise. Like basically, one of their shards cost 100 Visior per shard, and the other shards cost 50 Visior per shard. So you're making the value play by spending it on Gilgamesh or Rinstern. And Gilgamesh is also a very good unit. He also has like the time age abilities like Quicken and Haste, and he has some pretty unique effects as well. So he's also a very good unit to use as well. But anyway, now moving on. Uh, I will go through what you should be doing at the shop. So if you're starting today and you decide to go with, you're following my recommendations, you're going with Yuna and uh, Titus, you want to be buying out their shards. Like you want to be updating this, and when it updates, you want to buy out, Yuna shards and Titus shards to get at least 600 of their shards. You don't like now because of the update to the barracks, which I'll go through in a little bit. You don't need to. It's not as important for you to get 600 of their shards right away, but I would like they're pretty good units, and um, with the challenge boards and stuff, you can build them up a lot easier than you otherwise would when you're starting today. So, that's what I would focus on. So you want to at least get 600 of their shards, but ideally you would like to get 1,000 of their shards each. With that, you can get them up to level 120, which is the max level of the game starting today. Until today, the max level was 99. So, but suppose you're only getting it up to level 99. I will go into why that's okay in a little bit when I go through the guild barracks section. So in addition to Yuna and Titus shards, other things that you want to focus on in the shop is, well, first of all, on this slot there will either be Zazan shards or Mont shards. And I would definitely recommend that you buy both of them. Mont is especially useful as a new player, but Zazan is also pretty good as well. So one small trick that you can do is see that all button, click on that and change it to Gil, so that you don't accidentally buy things that you don't want to buy. From here, you want to buy, whatever shards is in this slot. Growth eggs are always good to have as well. These items, as a new player, the N rank items are quite useful, and I will get to that in a later section. But I would at least aim to buy one of each. So, for example, if you buy a bronze knife right now, when the shop refreshes and a bronze knife comes again, you don't need to buy it a second time. But I would at least try to get one each of all the N items in the game. The other recipes are not so useful until we get down to the MR recipes. These are the items that you'll be using for a while, but um, I will leave it up to you if you want to get it right now or not. Like it does cost quite a bit of money. Like we all got a billion gil, but we use that up faster than you think. So, uh, and you would really want to have like 63 of these recipes before you can craft one item. So it takes a while. So you would most likely be able to get 63 of these items when one of these recipes are on a like their event is being featured. And when their event is being featured, you can just farm the 63 recipes from that event. So you don't really need to get the recipes from the shop. But if you want, like say you're using Nivlu and you want a bow, so you can buy say one of these recipes and build a bow that you can use on her, so she's not like weaponless, for example. But moving on, these items, like sometimes I might be healing potions or something. I've been playing this game for a whole year and I've never used it, so I don't think it's useful at all. A Phoenix Down might be useful, but I haven't seen Phoenix Down being sold in here, so I don't know if that's one of the items that's featured. That is potentially the only item that's kind of useful. The other things, like see the memories or the Jadites and Azurites and so on, these things are like when I started the game, I bought them out because I needed them for all the units that I was building. But right now there's a triple uh, item drop from the story mode. So you probably can farm these things a lot easier than I could when I started. So if you want an edge anyway, you can keep buying these out. They don't cost a lot right now. But the most important thing I want to buy is this last item here. The for right now it says blissful heart, but this will change to a variety of items. And these items you will always need them for crafting. A lot of MR and UR recipes need these items, so stocking up on them whenever they're featured here is always a good idea. So the first refresh that you use costs 0 the second one costs 10, then it goes up to 50, and then 100. At least do the free one because, I mean, it's free. Uh, I often make the 10 Vizier purchase as well because it's just 10 Vizier, but you don't have to. Um, but like when you're hunting for shards like Yuna shards and Titus shards, the event lasts 41 days, so you have a long time to get the shards. But if you want a little push to get them faster, you can press that button, and as the shards come up, you can purchase them. So now I will get into the equipment section and talk about equipment proficiencies. So when you get a brand new character, like in this case Titus, and you try to equip a sword on him, you will see that everything is red. So this doesn't actually mean negative stats, it just means the stats that is displayed here is reduced by quite a big chunk. Like for example, I think it only gives you I think half the values if the equipment proficiency is not met. So when you get a new character, all their equipment proficiencies are at E, as you can see down here, and each weapon needs a certain proficiency to use. Like the UR weapons, like this one, it requires a proficiency of A. If you're using a sword like this, an MR one, that needs a equipment proficiency of B. So remember those N ranked items that I told you guys should get? So this is where it comes in handy. Whenever you equip an item, like so in this case a ring, because it's an N rank, that is the item that a brand new character can equip and its equipment proficiency is met. When you're using an item that matches your proficiency, you get more EXP in battles with that item. So if you use the N ring and take him on battles, he will earn equipment proficiency faster than if you give him, like, say, like the R ring, because he doesn't meet that. So by using the N rank until he gets to equipment proficiency D, then switching to R, and so on, you can build up his proficiency faster. So that's when it becomes useful. And also when you're starting out, N rank items are very easy to level up. The other items are not. So I will just quickly go and take a look to show you guys. Okay, where is okay, like this one, leather plate. So N rank items will always be maxed when you hit level 30. Like I know for sure I'll have 170 HP. I will have 2 evade, 4 defense, and 2 spirit. And this is true of all N rank equipment. I don't need to worry about equipment awakening or things like that. And I also don't need to worry about hammers and other crazy things. So those are all more complicated things that I'm not going to talk about in this guide right now. But as a new player, I would recommend that's what you do. Like, get these N items, level them up to 30, and use them. Build up your proficiencies with them, but they're also pretty useful items when you're starting the game. So that's all I have to say about equipment. The next section that I want to deal with is when you have a party. Your party should look like this now. And you'll probably not be using Kiza a lot because she doesn't really do as much damage. Instead, I would recommend that you use Mont, because again, I mentioned that you can buy shards from the shop. Let me just remove his items because you might not have that. Okay, so I would recommend that you use Mont and you give him the Vow of Love card because he is now your tank. You don't need to get him to level 120 because the items needed to get a unit to level 120 is quite a lot, and it might take a while to farm them. But at least to get to level 99 is not as bad because of the different uh, shards that we have. Like we have, for example, I'm going to awaken a unit that is like this one. No, not this one. Yeah, okay. So this is an MR unit, and I don't need to be using these rainbow fragments. I can use the azure fragments. So it doesn't compete with my UR awakening process anymore. It used to. So it was before, it was always a call of whether I should be investing in Mont or not. Now I would say definitely go for it, because he's not like, by investing in Mont, you're not lacking of investing in a UR anymore. So that's why I would recommend you go with Mont and you use Mont as your tank. So your team should kind of look like this without that item. Yeah, so this is how your team should look like. And at this point, when you're pulling for units, like when you pull for Yuna and Titus, you probably got a lot of other vision cards and espers. You don't have them maxed out, but you're playing with the teams that you have, and you need a little bit of extra edge to beat some stages. Uh, so this next section is going to deal about how to optimize your team. The first thing I'm going to talk about is your espers. So in this case, I got Titus just today. So when I equip Odin to him, he doesn't get all the stats of Odin. He only gets a portion of his stats. And the way I can check that is by clicking on Odin. I can click on the resonance, and I will see that Titus only has a resonance of 3. So this means that only 30% of Odin's stats are given to Titus. Every 100 battles I take Odin with Titus, he gets an extra resonance level. So after 900 battles, Titus will finally be able to get the full stats from Odin. It is the same with every other character and every other Esper. So when you set up your formation, from the limited number of Espers you have, make sure you try do your best to match them up to who you want them to be. So another way of checking it is by clicking, long press on the unit and press the affinity resonance button, and then press the resonance, and you can see that I only have level 3 resonance with Titus. When you're starting the game and when you pull a new unit, this is usually an issue because it takes a while to get them up to level 10 resonance. But after a while, like say if I look at Eldira, who I've had for a long time, I have resonance with many other espers. Like, it just comes. I don't spend too much time with it. The more I use the unit, I just keep cycling through the different espers I have, and I eventually build up their resonance. So that having a level 10 resonance with an esper provides a huge boost of stats, and that just comes through time. But there is something that you will need to pay special attention to bring the unit's damage up, and that is called the faith and bravery mechanics. So I will go and look at Titus again to show you an example. So you can see the bravery right now says 55 and the faith says 50. Ideally, you want the bravery at 97 because that's the maximum you can have on the screen like this. And the faith value depends. I will cover faith in a little bit, but for bravery, the first thing you want to do is you want to go to the guild, and you want to press the barracks, and you want to put the units, the 5 units that you got in here. And now here is something cool that they've added, where you can press this button and press shards, and now you'll be able to get shards of whatever unit is here. So I can put, say, Nivlu, and every 12 hours I'll get an additional shard of Nivlu. In addition to that, I can increase the bravery. So you can see that Titus is getting 1 additional bravery every hour. This will go up to 70. 70 is the max that you can have from the barracks. And you can choose what you want to do with faith. You can increase faith to 70, you can lower faith to 30, or you can keep faith at 50. A lot of the time I keep my faith at 50 because some of the buffs that I need for it to cast, I need the faith to be at 50. But if you have higher faith, your units deal more magic damage and take more magic damage. So Yuna, ideally would be at 97 faith because I would need her to do, a lot more damage. Uh, and Titus, if I want to use Titus or say Mont, if I want to use Mont as a tank, I might actually think of leaving him at 30 faith, so he takes as little magic damage as I possibly can get him to. So Barracks only increases your faith and bravery to 70. To get it from 70 to 97, well, you have Titus. So Titus is good for raising your bravery. What you would do is you would level up the skill. Where is it? Devotion. No, meditation. You would level meditation to level 11, and you would have to manually go and use the skill. So what I do, I actually go to so to increase bravery, I usually go to chapter 4, scene 2, good idea. And first of all, you have to make sure that Titus's sub job is set to samurai, and that you have meditation leveled up to level 11. Then you embark and make sure that auto is set to off. And then what I do is I gather everybody up into meditation's field. So I will take a second to do that just now. Whoops. So I just need Mont to go. And I can do that on his next turn. So now Titus can go here and use meditation, and it'll affect everybody there. So this should raise bravery by 1 every turn. And so after you get to 70 bravery from Barracks, you would have to do this at least, I think, 27 more times to get it to 97 bravery. And you want to do this for all units, both spellcasting, like magic damage dealers, and physical damage dealers, because there's no downside to having more bravery. With faith, I already explained that sometimes you might want to have low faith, or sometimes you want to have high faith, but the best thing to do with faith is actually a special unit that you need. So hopefully within your pulls you get, where is she now? Here, Fina. Because Fina is the unit that I use for faith raising. She has a skill called Cheer. So I have to raise Cheer to level 11. Then what I do is I put the Vow of Love card on the unit that I want to raise, the Faith. So there you go. So what this does is when I take this team out to battle, on Fina's turn, she will use her Cheer ability on the card that has Hate. So in this case, Yuna. So she will use her Cheer ability, and Cheer increases Faith by 1 every battle if you have it at level 11 or higher. So this is the setup, and this will work on auto as well. So this is the setup that I use to get any of my magic damage dealers up to 97 Faith. So if you don't have Fina, I wouldn't re-roll until you get Fina. I mean, at some point you'll get her anyway, but keep a lookout for it, because having a unit at 97 Faith, like a damage dealing unit, a magic damage dealing unit at 97 Faith versus 70 Faith, is quite a big difference. And if you're having terrible luck with it, you can also bring one of your friends' Finas as well. So you can use a story stage and select a friend's Fina. See, there you go. One of my friends has a level 99 Fina, and get that Fina to use Cheer instead. So that's not ideal, because I don't know how that person has set up, and you have to choose it every single run that you do. You can still run it on auto, but it's not as ideal as just using your own Fina and setting it on auto. So hopefully within a few days or a couple of weeks, you pull a Fina yourself, and you can set it up for yourself, so you can raise the faith of your own units a lot easier. Okay, so the next thing is the JP. So whenever you get a new unit, like in this case Titus, Each skill that you have, whenever you want to level them, they cost JP. So your JP is limited when you start, and you want to get as much JP as you can. When you go to the far plane and you look at uh, the key quests, this you can consume a JP key, and you got a few of them from the rewards from anniversary. You can use one of these. So I will use one right now. You can use one of these to give all of your units a huge boost. The best way to set this up is to give units cards that increase JP. So, for example, the card that we got today, where is it? This one. So this card increases the acquired JP of the unit that's holding it by 15%. In addition, you want to make sure that you have the use JP acquisition up item selected as on, and you want to use a companion that has very specifically this card, the job crystal, because that gives you a bestowed effect of, a party ability of 50% JP for the entire party. If you happen to have one of these cards, I think you have to spend some money to get it. If you can stack that card's effect with your friends, so you can have two of that effect on your whole party like this. And when you click embark, you can select the overlight that increases JP exponentially by 1,000% more. So by running a few runs of this, it's an easy way to bring up the JP on your new units. So before we had this, it took a really long time to get the JP up for all my units, especially ones that I got, the first, second day. But with this, like, see, Yuna has 43,000 JP already, and I've only had her for a few hours. And the reason I was able to get her JP up is because of this item and the availability of this quest. So that deals with the bravery, faith, and JP mechanics. Just something I want to quickly mention is the challenge board that you should not be neglecting. It comes here. Make sure you do all these challenges to get the shards of Yuna and Titus, and also make sure you do this as much as you can to get Titus's sword. It's a pretty good sword. It gives you both slash attack and water attack. And if you're going for Bahamut, also get his shards as well. And so this kind of deals with like your first little while in the game. You should be focusing on your 5 units that you have. Doing your guild quests every day, doing your friend, sending your friend medals every day, making sure you get them back as well. Within maybe like 2 months, you might be at a different stage in the game. We're looking at your next step. So at this point, assuming that you have your Kiza completely done, you're gonna take a look at the other units and see, well, what else can I do? Should I be investing in them? Well, that depends. So you already have a tank in Mont. Mont is a pretty good tank. I used Mont for 3 months, but it was the very first 3 months of the game where the state of the game is a lot different than now. So right now, when you're using Mont, you might be like, well, I want a better tank. Mont is just not cutting it anymore. So Whisper might be a solid choice. I say might because I personally don't use Whisper. So I would really recommend that you look at a different YouTuber, maybe Cabbage, because I know Cabbage uses Whisper a lot. So, go to a different YouTuber's channel that uses Whisper and look at some reviews on Whisper and see if that's going to be a good fit for your team. Because I really cannot recommend her because I don't use her at all, so I have no idea. But if you decide to go for a tank and you want somebody stronger than Mont, Whisper might be the choice for you. Regarding Luartha, I like Luartha, but I made a video a few weeks ago when I looked at all the gunners and I said Luartha is the gunner that I use the least because I just don't know how to use her. While that might be true for me because I have all the gunners and I usually find a different gunner does the job of Luartha better than I need them to, Luartha is not a bad unit in any way. If I was starting and I finished Kiza, I would definitely get Luartha because she would do missile chains with Nivlu, and she has very high attack. Right now, I usually bring Federica to chain with Nivlu, but as a new player, you might not have Frederica, so Luartha might be what you need. But again, like you don't need to get Luartha. Um, it depends. Like if you want more damage dealers in your team, if you want somebody with fire element, you might get Luartha. At this point, you might look at me and say, "Hey, like you're watching this video because you want me to tell you what to do, and I'm telling you, well, maybe." So doesn't that defeat the point of the video? While that is true, if you're following my guide, I've already told you what you kind of should be doing for the first at least 2 months. It'll be around 2 months when you have Kiza maxed out, and when you have Kiza maxed out is when you should be looking at what you should be doing with the other medals, with your leftover medals. And by that point in time, I'm hoping you have a better understanding of your account to make the decisions on what you want to do with Whisper and Luartha. Assuming that you don't go for them, you can also buy the vision card shards as well. Now, the vision card shards are a little bit of a gamble because they only give you the shards, they don't give you the card itself. So you might have 275 of these shards, the maximum that you need to fully awaken a vision card and not see the card for like another 3 months. The other gamble is that these vision cards are most likely also going to be updated. We had two different vision cards before. We had Odin and Shiva, and I think they stayed for 3 months before they got updated. So if you miss out on these cards might be updated to include two different cards as well. So again, two different kinds of gambles that you're taking with regards to vision cards. But of the two, I really recommend Fenrir. Fenrir gives a party-wide ability of magic resistance, and it gives 10% HP on the bestowed effect, as well as 4 agility. These are all very good stats, especially the 4 agility, because agility is a very important stat, and there are only so few sources of agility. Um, Magic resistance is also very key. I've used that card a lot. As for Golem, I personally haven't used it too much, but I have quite a few guild medals, so I've been buying 5 of these shards every day anyway. Oh, and yep, I've been buying 5 of these shards every day anyway, and I still haven't awakened Golem because I don't really see myself using it a lot. But there are builds where people are using Golem a lot, especially with what is known as the Drain Force build, where you want to have as much HP as possible. So again, I'll leave that call up to you. When you start the game, you should be focusing on Kiza anyway. By the time Kiza is maxed, hopefully you have a better idea of what your account needs in terms of does it need Whisper, Luartha, or one of these vision cards. Moving on to the friend medal. Now, Marchery is arguably one of the worst UR units in the game right now, unfortunately. I like her design, but she just isn't a good unit. Maybe with her X job, she might see a bit more play. But the thing about Marchery is that her TMR is very, very powerful, but it is only very powerful in manual play situations. So there are PvE scenarios where you will be playing things on manual. Like there's a content called a tower that comes up, where as a newer player you'll probably be doing it on manual, and her TMR provides a shield that is very useful, for your team, for your account. But it is very hard to get a unit to use that TMR on auto. So I do a lot of like manual live PvP. So for me, Marchery's TMR was very good, and I spent a lot of like different kinds of medals getting her as soon as possible, and I have her maxed out. I don't use the unit much, but I use her TMR almost all the time. Like almost on every team in live PvP that I do, I have the TMR on someone. So it depends. Like, are you looking to do battles where you'll be doing a lot of manual play? If so, maybe you might consider investing in Marchery after Ildira's done. If not, then uh, maybe you don't want to go that way if you're not planning on doing a lot of manual play. It might be situationally good for content like towers where you still want that shield, or like very difficult bosses where you want that shield. But if you are not a fan of live play, like if you would rather do auto battles all the time, Marchery might not be the unit that you want to invest in. especially because she's not a good unit anyway. Ketone is a fantastic unit, but again, it's kind of like Marjorie, where she excels in manual play because she has so many things going for her. She has a time mage sub job with haste. She has like her limit burst is fantastic for taking a unit out of play for several turns. But you want to make strategic decisions with that. Like you want to take out the unit that is the most dangerous to you, right? And it might not be the closest unit. So the auto battling might use that limit burst on the opponent's tank while you really want to use it on the damage dealer. So she is a unit that specializes in live PvP, and there are different builds with her as well. Like you can build her to be a tanky drain force user. Again, these are like more these are concepts that are more advanced than the beginner guide, so I'm just going to briefly mention them, but I'm not going to go into much detail. But basically, she's fantastic for a live PvP type of unit. For an auto battling unit, I don't think she's as good. I could be wrong because again, I got her recently. I maxed her a few days ago, and I don't have extensive experience with her. But there are people that like Ketone is their main unit, so I know she is very good. And if you want to get a better idea on, you know, how good Ketone is, you should probably look at their YouTube channels and read other reviews because I have limited experience using her. Mediana is a unit that you get for free from the challenge board when you start. It takes you, I think, a couple of days to go through all the quests to get Mediana, but once you do, you have her, and you can get a few of her shards from the challenge board, and you can get more shards here. Ildira outclasses Mediana in terms of farming, but Mediana is a different element. So sometimes you might be doing a stage where Ildira is just not enough for the stage. Like either the stage has thunder elements where Ildira deals less damage, or the enemies are just so tough that one AoE isn't enough to kill them, and you might want to chain with Ildira and Mediana. So if you're not going for Marchery and you're not going for Ketone, Mediana is a I would recommend spending the friend medals on Mediana. Although she is outclassed by Ildira, it doesn't hurt to have another pretty good damage dealing AoE unit. So I would I would recommend after you have maxed out Ildira to go for the Mediana shards. If you're not going for Marchery or Ketone. Personally, like the player that I am, I would go for Ildira first, then I would go for Marchery, then I would go for Ketone, then I would go for Mediana. But that's just because for me, PvP, live PvP items are, live PvP units are what most interests me, so that's why I would go that way. Marchery is not a live PvP unit, but her TMR is, so that's why I would focus on it like that. And when we get down to the arena medals, so you should have Woe of Love maxed out by now. Solidus is a pretty good card. I don't know if these are going to be updated or not. Like I don't know when in a few months if this card is going to be replaced by another card. It could be, or it could not be. I have no idea, because this is like the addition of this card into the shop is fairly new. It is a good card. It gives you 20% slash resistance to your whole party. It also increases the light unit's HP by 25% once the card is maxed out. After Woe of Love, I would focus on getting Solidus and maxing Solidus. Secret Orders is a pretty good card as well, but being an MR card, you are likely to get it from random pulls here and there, whereas Solidus is a higher rarity, and so you won't be seeing drops of Solidus as much as Secret Orders. And Solidus is a pretty good card anyway, so that's what I would focus on. Um, so with that, I think that's it for my, beginner guide. If you have more questions, please feel free to ask in the comments. I will do my best to answer them. Um, there are a lot of this game has a lot of concepts and a lot of things to do, so I'm just trying to give you advice where it's like, this is what you want to do as soon as possible. Like, these are the things that you want to invest in that you don't miss out. Um, like, for example, there are guides where it teaches you about crafting, but I'm not going into that because if you do crafting on day 10 instead of day 2, you didn't miss out on the 8 days of crafting. You could still like accumulate all the items that you need for crafting and do it on day 10. Whereas with with the medals, if you start on day 10 instead of day 2, you missed out on 8 days of 10 shards, up to 10 shards each. So that's a lot of you miss out on quite a lot by not doing that. So that's the reason why I decided to focus on that. But I also decided to give you some general tips about what you should be focusing on, like Yuna and Titus, and what you should be getting from the shops, and how to increase your damage with increasing resonance and brave and faith mechanics. So I hope to give you an overall guide on what to expect from the game and how to progress within your first week to 2-3 months. If you have any questions or comments, please, if you have any questions or other comments, please leave them in the comment. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, this is Locke. Take care now.